Hey, everybody. Good evening. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. And thank you so much for joining me. Um, I am so glad you're here. I've been looking forward to this for a while. I've been hoping to do our deconversion poetry slam for quite some time, and some things got in the way. But I'm so glad that we're doing it here tonight. And there are several people that are going to be joining us shortly, and we'll just have them jump in as they're able to, and then we'll have people share their poetry. But I'm going to put the link in for people to join with me here on StreamYard in the comment section, and feel free to jump in whenever you're ready. No rush. I did want to mention a few things. Number one, sorry that this week I've been sort of incognito for some of the extra live streams. Had the kids, and they were sick, and I was sick, and there were several other side issues that came up, and it was just one of those things where I had to focus on them. All good things. Always good to give them lots of love, and they're my pride and joy, and they mean everything to me. They're always my priority, of course, but it is also hard to, breaks your heart to not be with the community here. So I appreciate your patience with me. I'm hoping to do some cool stuff this week. This next week, I've got a little more bandwidth. Great to see you, Susanna. Hello, Tim. Big hello from Scotland, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And we'll just give everyone a little bit of time. Looks like we just have a few people so far, but we'll give everyone a chance to jump in. And I'm hoping some people are open to that have reached out to me are looking to jump in and share, but also hoping that we have some people that have thought about sharing that didn't reach out to me that will jump in at the last minute. Now, I do have a poem to share, but honestly, the poem that I was going to share, or that I would share, I don't intend to share it per se, but if there's a lot of bandwidth, a lot of time, I'll jump into it, but it's a little bit longer. So if you kind of want to not hear me and hear more of our community, jump in and let's hear from you all. But want to mention a few things. Number one, if anybody does want to look at one-on-one peer support, I'm available. Feel free to reach out to me on Facebook or on email. The ways to connect with me are beneath this video. If anyone is interested in doing an interview, feel free to connect with me as well. We'll get you on the calendar. And then for anyone that's interested in doing poetry, but not tonight, I did recently do a live stream where I talked about how to prepare for poetry. Maybe I'll put that link up here real quick. But I would love to have you, if tonight's not the night, love to have you jump in at some point soon. I would like to kind of kick this off by just saying, and this is the link for a video I did recently where we just kind of talked about how to prepare for poetry. That might be, you might think it's not your main thing or your forte, but there's some ways in which it ends up being quite an addicting thing to let the words come out. But I do want to start by just encouraging you that you are a poet, and your life is poetry. Whether you think of it that way or not, it is poetry. Your life is like a story, and the chapters of it before arguably were written by someone else, and now they're written by you. You get to be the person with the pen, and you get to write your story, and you get to write it as poetically or unpoetically, however you'd like to, but you get to write your story in a way that is meaningful to you. And I want to encourage you in that. Doesn't mean you have to do poetry with us, but to think of yourself that way, and that you're worth thinking through what are the right words for my life. Another thing I would like to encourage you on is what's called stream of consciousness. That has changed my life radically, where whether you're talking to a friend or to yourself or to your recording app on your phone as you're taking a walk, just start to talk out loud as if to a friend about what's going on inside your heart, and you'll be amazed at some of the things that come out. So we do have our first poetry guest tonight. Laura is in the studio with us. I'm going to bring her on, and then I think we'll hear from a few other people. I should also mention real quick before I bring Laura in that I do have a new YouTube member, Just a Ranter. Thank you so much for being a YouTube member. I really appreciate that. That's the way to support the channel. So I appreciate that so very much. And I'm going to bring our guest Laura in today.
Hi.
Laura, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Tim. Hi, everyone.
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay, except I mowed the grass yesterday and my allergies are acting up a little bit.
Oh no, I know the
But that's
feeling.
all right. I'll sing through it.
Well, if you start sneezing or coughing, we'll just we'll assume that's part of the poetry.
Well, I got my tissues right here.
Nice, very nice.
But I
Well,
didn't want to pass up the opportunity. I wanted to keep my commitment here, so.
well, I appreciate it. I'm so glad you're here, and I did want to mention as well, just a few things, or ask you a few things. Can you remind us where you calling from?
I'm calling from Washington State.
Okay.
Actually live just north of Portland, Oregon. And my husband and I recently moved to Richfield, Washington. Very beautiful place.
Very nice, very nice. I've never been out that way. I've been as far as Colorado, but it's on my bucket list to get out to Portland at some point. So, love to
Awesome.
meet you all in person someday. Well, what before you read your poem, could you tell us what it is titled, if you have a title, and what inspired you to write it?
Okay. Well, I'm going to actually sing a song. I've got my famous Nova Go, the
Nice,
conundrum guitar.
very nice.
The ironic guitar. Nova means no go.
Oh
Nova Go.
no, I think I remember that from the Nova vehicles years ago. What?
That's right.
How long have you been writing poetry or songs?
Well, I used to write poetry quite a bit back in my teens and early 20s. And I got sidetracked from writing my poetry when I got drawn into fundamentalism. And so I went from expressing myself, my feelings and thoughts, to over time censoring myself and only singing like religious songs. And so now I'm picking my guitar back up and getting back into writing. So I'm a little clunky at it, but it's a work in progress, and it's a healing. It's a healing for me. Um, I can we share a little personal backstory or not?
Yeah, whatever you'd like. The floor is yours.
Okay. Well, I have DID, which is a dissociative identity disorder. And this is the first time, aside from my immediate family, that I'm just letting people know that it's a real thing and it's brought about by ongoing trauma. So part of my backstory is deals with religious trauma. Is a part of my story. So I won't go into a lot of detail, but I just wanted to give a little backstory on that. And I don't know how much you know about DID,
How
but
much?
okay, just real quick. Not all, but many people with DID come up with a system name. They name their group of self states as a system. It's called a system. So I like to refer to ourselves as we because I have more than one self state. And let's see, how can I explain this? Well, we came up with the name Symphony System. So we refer to ourselves as the Symphony System. And again, it's part of the healing process. Some people choose to maintain their self state. Other people choose to integrate and become more of a whole-minded person. So we came up with a name. We went to a local symphony here in Washington about maybe 2-3 years ago now, my husband and I, and we were at a symphony and it was so beautiful, Tim. The music was just so, oh my gosh, it just touched my heart. It was so beautiful. And so as we were sitting there, we thought, okay, let's call ourselves the Symphony System. So I'm wearing a t-shirt. It says, living the symphony life. It's probably backwards.
Nice. It looks like it's the right direction for my side, but
Oh, cool.
yeah,
Oh, cool. Living the symphony life. Just out of respect for our system. So again, I'll get on with my song. We wrote a song in the last 2-3 days, and it's called Country Symphony. And so it includes our system name, Country Symphony. So here goes.
Nice.
Hope you enjoy.
Absolutely.
Bees buzzing by the sweet jasmine. Let me start over, please. Here we go. Bees buzzing by the sweet jasmine. Trees rustling in the carefree wind. Streams rushing through a deep ravine. Eagles whistling on the steep mountain. Beauty found in nature, profound variety. Escapes all peer pressure, defies conformity. People, please remember, embrace diversity. Love in our country symphony. Beagles thumping in a clean kitchen. Gene plucking his green violin. Steve drumming on a tambourine. Me strumming on my beat-up 6-string. Freedom found in nature abounds for all to see. Music in the moment includes humanity. People, please remember, love has no boundary. Living out our country symphony. Bees buzzing by the sweet jasmine. Trees rustling in the carefree wind. Streams rushing through a deep ravine. Eagles whistling on the steep mountain. Freedom found in nature abounds for all to see. Music in the moment includes humanity. People, please remember, love has no boundary. Living out our country symphony. Be kind, be happy, being you, being who you want to be. Be kind, be happy, being who you want to be. Joining in our country symphony. Living out our country symphony. Singing our country symphony.
All right, very nice.
It's very, very rough. My rough draft.
It's 1,000% better than I could have ever done. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you, Tim.
Very nice. And could you just tell us a little bit more about this song? What does it mean to you?
Oh my gosh. Well, as I said before, included the name of our system, our DID system, which is Symphony System. It reminds me of growing up in the country in California. Reminds me of laying out under the stars on a cot in the summertime and looking up at the stars and having so much curiosity in my heart and so much joy and a sense of adventure and just open and free. And I'm trying to get back to that place in my heart that over the years was buried by conformity, by religion, by being how I was supposed to be according to other people, instead of who I truly, or we truly now are within. So, and also, it's kind of a confession in a way, but not in a religious way. It's remembering how my mind was closed off over time to people who were different than me, and assuming things about people, putting labels on people, separating myself from other people, putting up walls, however you want to phrase it. And I feel a little guilty about it sometimes. Just how religion caused me to treat my family, my father especially, and religion put barriers between me and my family, and me and my friends, just me and people. And so now, over time, it's been a slow process. It's been years. It's been years now. I started to open up, kind of like a flower blossoms, and my heart starts to open up, and I'm more welcoming of other people. I try to not make quick judgments on people. I try to embrace people where they are, and I try and make connections, I guess, with people. Rather than saying, oh, us versus them, I try to think, okay, what's the bridge that I can build between me and another person? And sorry, I could go on. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but I don't want to take up all the time for this
No, you're fine.
poetry
That's
slam.
great. I love it. I love it. It's great. I love hearing the background though of kind of what's on your heart that brought you to that point. Let me just read a few quick comments before you head out. Janine says, hey, and Shell says, hi guys. Janine has some hand claps for you for your song. Thank you, Janine. And Shell says, reminds me of John Denver. I love it. Absolutely. Good stuff. Mark says, hey, Tim, I won't manage to read poems tonight. I was prepared, but I'm too tired. Sorry to let you down. No worries. Hopefully another time. Have a great slam. Thank you so much, Mark. I know it's late there, so no worries at all. Just appreciate you your kindness to us. Laura, thank you so much. Can I just ask, if we haven't, I don't know if we've touched base before, but I would love to hear your full story sometime. Are you open to sharing your full, like doing a full interview at some point?
I think I would be open to sharing an interview. I'm trying to be respectful of other people in my life.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, I guess, put anything out there, say anything that might hurt somebody.
Yeah.
But some people come to mind that I'm like, I don't know if I can share that yet. But
yeah,
I'm open to it.
Yeah, well, let me know. You know how to reach out to me. Please do when the time is right, even if it's a year or two from now. You're always welcome on the channel. Would love to have you when the time is right, but no pressure at all. But thank you so much. I'm going to try to do more poetry slams maybe at least 2 or 3 months, but maybe more. But please do, if you've got more poetry or songs, please do come back. We'd love to have you back anytime.
Thank you. And can I just say that I appreciate you, Tim, so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And your platform, I guess you call it a platform, channel? Your channel.
All the above.
All the above. Your channel has played an integral part in my life and in our life, our healing. it's providing kind of a window for me to kind of open up and kind of just reach out a little bit, so I don't have to be overwhelmed. But I feel, okay, bottom line, I feel like your channel is a safe space, and so I appreciate you providing a safe space for me and others. And thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you. That's the absolutely best compliment I could get. I appreciate those words so very much, and I definitely need a safe place, and I definitely want to be that for the people. So, thank you. That's really really good to hear. I appreciate it so much, and please do reach out when the time is right. We'd love to hear the rest of your story.
I will. Thank you, Tim.
All right, thanks, Laura. Thank you so much, Laura. That was awesome. Really cool stuff. And if anyone has jumped into the live stream in terms of just watching, and you wanted to join us, even if you didn't let me know in advance. If you didn't let me know in advance, you have to pay a little extra. No, just kidding. If you didn't let me know in advance, no worries at all. But you're welcome to join us. And I apologize for my voice. My voice is a little bit raspy, and I've been talking all day in one way or another. And so it's my voice is punishing me right now. But I'm probably not going to do any poetry. We'll see. We'll see how long this goes. I do have a poem, but it's still a work in progress. So I typically tend to obsess over my poetry to the point that it takes me far too long to get it done, because I'm like, I'm not sure it's done yet, but I may bring some of it out. We'll see. We'll see who jumps in here. But we do have Susanna in the backstage. Let me bring Susanna on. Hey, Susanna.
Hey.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. But busy, long day as always, but
yeah, and it's like almost 11:30 at night there. So thank you for staying up late for us. We appreciate it.
No worries. Laura's, I didn't get a chance to write in the comments there, but that was amazing considering she said she'd written it in the last few days.
Oh, that is. I'm very jealous.
Really amazing. I know, and to be able to play the guitar as well, I'm jealous of that.
yeah, me too, for sure. It's on my list to get some lessons before too long. But I mean, we're so glad you're here. For anyone that doesn't know Susanna, she's coming to us from Scotland. She's been a long time part of this community. She's been, gosh, it's been years you've been part of this community in terms of supporting what I do and just reaching out to me personally to give me feedback and interact. So I appreciate you so much as a supporter and as a friend. And you've done, we have not yet connected to get Susanna's full story, but there is a short. Let me actually pop it into the comments here. But please do look at Susanna's short. It is really, really amazing. As much as I like to get down to it and get a lot of information out there, she snuck so much passion into, what is that? It was 59 seconds. Wow. That was back when YouTube shorts had to be under a minute. So if you did it now, you'd have up to 3 minutes. But back when it was under a minute, you put more content in 59 seconds than most people can put into an hour. So really good stuff. So please go check out her short also later. I'm sure we'll get to your full story at some point in an interview. But what is your poem's title tonight, and what inspired you?
Okay, I haven't got a title for either of my poems, to be honest with you, Tim. So if somebody could give me suggestions at the end of what jumped out, that would be amazing.
No worries.
I always throw a title out there that kind of grabbed from the third line or something, but this time I haven't really, to be honest.
No worries. Is it two of them?
I've got two, potentially three, but it's up to you.
Yeah, no, sounds good. We'd love to hear more.
But each one of them is just about a minute and 15 seconds, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll go, since they're only that short, go real slow for. We'd love to hear you take your time with it so we can hear every word. And yeah, feel free to, if you want to comment in between each one about what they meant to you, feel free, or if you want to just read them all straight through, either way.
Okay, the first one. Who am I? What have I become? Brought up as a sinner, deprived and undone. Observed under microscope every detail. In that environment, I had no choice but to fail. Didn't get it right, the demands were so high. But his love covered. Sit up straight, don't cry. But this was the truth, no question, I'm told. Answers given from scholars of old. Years went by, trapped in the system. Explained, written down under the dome of Christendom. Yes, I've woke now. Yes, I continue to look back. How can this man-made religion relationship hold so many in its trap? Yes, I'm awake, yawning and stretching, stepping into life I never knew existed. My brain no longer accusing, shaming, thought policing, now smiling, hoping for real life up ahead. The now is for feeling, releasing, relaxing, caring and sharing, gathering, coping. Sad for the years lost, bereaving, realizing the stages to go through for healthy healing. Not there yet, getting to a place to find my eyes are opening and my heart's realigning.
I love it. Awesome stuff.
Hence the name, Eyes Opening, Hearts Realigning.
Yes, I saw that. I love it.
Okay, well, maybe that would be the title.
Yeah. With your poetry, do you find that it just kind of comes to you, and do you just sort of write it out all in one sitting, or does it come to you piecemeal?
All in one sitting mostly, however, sometimes during the night as well, so it wakes me.
Yeah, when you should be sleeping, of course.
Yeah, I don't know why my body's saying yes. I'm not sleeping.
I do the same thing. No judgment.
Okay, the next one. A lifetime ago, wasn't that long, you know. I spent nearly half a century in the cult of Christianity. Riddled with guilt, shame was my reality, conflicted, confused, not understanding my humanity. I was tried and tested, enduring some tough times, but God had me, and I was heading for a place not fitting my grime. Clothed in his righteousness, covering my unworthiness, heaven bound. It gets worse. Found it's just a story, not a curse. Taking life's reins at this stage of life, opportunities ahead to give me delight. Seeing human race in this world is just one. People living, breathing, trying to get along. Searching for others on the same path, to have friendships, to care and have a laugh. Sharing the feelings that were pressed down so tight. Being in a community that understands it. Am I right?
Nice. I love it. Very powerful.
And then the last one, okay.
Cool, real quick, we got to give you some applause from the group. Whoop, Susanna. And Laura says, awesome, Susanna. And Shell says, wow, that was powerful. So, everybody's cheering you on, Susanna.
Thank you. I've just got a tiny little one that probably hasn't finished, but I'm going to share it anyway. Okay, drifting and missing actual reality, accepting what landed in life for me. It was God's plan after all, walking the walk, answering his call, being obedient, trusting his word, life's happenings for testimony, Christ's light shining out of me. Broken and unused, God's what's your plan for me? My life willingly placed in your hands. The best life was to be kept for heaven above. Christian aliens passing through. Store no earthly treasure to love. It's unfinished, but
a work in progress, which we all are.
a work in progress. So I'm on the flow at the moment.
Nice, very cool. Well, I can't imagine that when you finish that, it won't be even a great example for the next one to bring into the next poetry slam too. So we'd love to hear the final product when you get to it. That's okay. A great start. It's a great start. Can you tell us real quick?
Okay.
With do you have to go?
Oh no.
Okay. There's no one, by the way. I was waiting. So you have the floor completely. Could you just tell us? I know we're not going to get to your interview for a while. Probably life is very busy, but just how are you doing these days with the religious healing and just getting past it all?
Yeah, I am getting past it all. I've not surrounded myself with anybody Christian. I'm afraid I've just had to say goodbye to that life, shut the door turn around and walk the other direction. It's meant for a lot of misses and lack of community, which isn't in real life. It is online only. I mean, when I say no community, I've got friendships, but I don't have anybody that understands what it was like to be a fundamental Christian, who ended up like us in, see, I'm even losing the words of what kind of Christian I was. But yeah, what was it, a 5-point what?
5-point Calvinist.
Thank you. So yeah, I got to the stage of 5-point Calvinism because I just thought that's the pinnacle of being a Christian, and everybody else has got it wrong. So yeah, I think that was my ending of my doubling down. And 3 years ago, after actually 3 years of trying to be the best Christian I could ever be and a great example to my children, yeah, that's 3 years researching, and then the last 3 years I've been definitely out.
And you've had some Christians that have pretty much either written you off, you might say, or at least been pretty harsh to you.
Yeah, I have, and especially if they see me around town. But my parents, sadly, my father is still trying to proselytize me. I've visited him a couple of times in his nursing home. He's had a stroke, bless him, with just one limb working now, but it's all part of God's plan, you know. And yeah, my mother as well, just she lives not far, but she doesn't see us anymore because we're just not living the life she hoped we would.
Yeah, it's such painful stuff. I see it and I hear it, and my heart breaks for all of us. But I do hope that the community appreciates you, and we're so glad that you're part of our lives and you're friends with us and able to jump into these. And can't wait to hear a full story at some point. I don't know if you remember, we actually did a real interview, a full interview at one point, and we just never published it because we decided we were going to use it as a rough draft. And
I was a terrible interviewee. That was the first time I've ever done anything like that.
Well, it was hard because you had your kids right behind you for half of it, and that's the hard thing. It's hard to do an interview with kids around, but I definitely know that feeling. I struggle with that. It's at times myself. Your kids in the other room, and you kind of fingers crossed that they're going to behave as opposed to start fighting or something. But it was a rough draft, and we're going to go back to that at some point and
very rough.
use it as a launching pad for the official one. But we're so glad you're part of our community, and please feel a big hug from us here in the community and from me in Atlanta. So
thank you, Tim. I appreciate it.
Thanks again, Susanna. And
Thanks
I'm just gonna
well,
before you drop, let me read a few quick comments. I see a few came in. Shell says, so thankful for community. And then let's see here. Am I reading that right? Laura DeLasso, those were fantastic. Laura says, hug Susanna. I see and hear you, my friend. See you and hear you, my friend. Noelle says, thank you so much, Susanna. I'm listening and appreciating. Thank you, Noelle, so much for being here. And Loretta says, I'm so sorry. And for your story with your family. And Noelle says, we love our moms, don't we? Even if they don't quite understand us. Yeah, we try. Thank you, Susanna. And Shell says, have the kids and making dinner right now. Once Phil gets home, I may try to hop on for a minute. Sounds good. Yeah, Shell, if it works out, you're welcome to join us. Well, Susanna, was there anything else on your heart you wanted to share tonight?
Oh, Tim, don't put me on the spot like that. No, I'm all good. Thank you, though. Appreciate it.
Sounds good. Well, we appreciate you. Have a great night. Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Thank you so much, Susanna. Well, I don't have anyone else in the studio. So if anybody does want to come on, you're welcome to. If anybody does not want to, you're inching me closer and closer to reading one of my poems. And the poem I would read is far too long for this. I had a few other people that signed up and apparently aren't showing up, which is fine. People have lives and they get busy. But if no one else jumps on soon, I am going to read a poem. And I don't think you want me to. Number one, because my voice, but more accurately because it's a monster. But let's see, shall I do it? Does anyone else want to jump in real quick? All right, I'm going to do it. I may chop this if anyone jumps in, because I'm going to actually, this is actually something that's still a work in progress, and I'm going to read it in a more, like once I polish it some more. We're all our own self critics, but it's important to do it. But I'm going to read at least a piece of it, and I'm going to probably do one for the first time ever, I think, where I don't actually show my face when I read. I'm just going to do the audio and have a nice, like a black and white background or something. But anyway, it's called "When I Began to Leave the House of God." And I apologize in advance for my voice. I'm raspy as they come tonight. But we'll see. Again, when I began to leave the house of God. When in disgrace with heaven in my own mind, I walked the halls where borrowed prayers still rang, and felt my younger self by fear confined, still chained within the songs my elders sang. I wept to think how early I was taught to bow before a love that bruised the bone, to think it virtue when my will was caught, to praise the lash and see the ruinous home. The sanctuary kept its old expression, as though the timber knew the shape of dread, and every aisle retained the dim impression of the ways I, as a child, had bowed my head. The chandeliers of doctrine still hang low, their crystals cut to cast a judging light, and every carter I used to know still tries to dress my leaving as a blight. I envied then the easy-hearted child, whose sleep was free of brimstone and spies, whose pulse was never measured, judged, and filed, whose wonder was not fenced by watchful eyes, who did not learn to scan the dark for blame, or ask if some pure thought had gone astray, who did not flinch to hear the holy name, as if all warmth might at that sound give way. I admired every life untouched by threat, each ordinary laugh, each loosened breath, each mind that had not been instructed yet to braid its tenderest longing close with death. I was mesmerized by every mind left uninspected, each soul allowed its weather and its play, each tenderness by no decree corrected, each dawn that did not wake already weighed. But every pew I left still followed me, its anger echoing through vanished years like splintered warnings that would not let me be, still muttering judgment just behind my ears. I bled the language long before I knew how language entering early builds a cage. A child repeats what trusted voices say and learns glad submission on every page. It did not enter as iron, but as blessing, soft on the ear and patient in the blood, until the borrowed grammar did its pressing and made obedience seem the highest good. It slipped beneath my skin before consent, before I knew that words could brand my soul, before I knew that every testament could hide a hand still reaching for control. The syllables arrived like polished stones, cool in my palm and heavy on my chest, building their chapel in my brittle bones and begging me deem their occupation true rest. Hearing the cadence long before the sense, learning the nod, the tremor, and the pause, and that safety often means pretense, and that fear, when sanctified, acquires applause. We later copy doctrine, but first it's the tone, the lowered gaze, the careful, chastened breath, until the borrowed posture feels our own, and reverence grows indistinguishable from death. They sounded rich enough to conquer doubt, like coins laid warm in some anointed hand. Yet every shining phrase had barbs throughout, each one a small command to understand that goodness meant a narrowing of the self, a supervised and disciplined desire, a life arranged upon a guarded shelf, a tongue made useful to send praise higher. They sounded grave and glorious at the threshold, yet each contained a quiet little knife, a way to make the living spirit more controlled, a way to cut the body out of life. Each word became a small hidden wire that pulled my thoughts and steered my fears all day, and fed the inward hush a stricter fire till my words and my silence were quick to obey. To leave in solitude was not my own, but furnished with inherited alarms, and every private hour was overthrown by old commands disguised as saving arms. Each one could twitch a muscle from afar, could darken appetite, or humble my joy, could make the simple sparkle of a star feel like temptation sent to bait a boy. The vocabulary is never neutral then, when every noun leads inward like a blade. The lexicon was furnished first by men who needed souls to tremble and obey. I did not know that words could wholly train the soul to kneel before imagined altars, could graft disgrace to hunger and joy to pain, writing ancient scripts as their own life psalter. Their book made innocence feel self-indicting and turned a blush into a thing to hide, then praised the soul for collapsing while fighting the simple fact of being warm inside. It can make instinct feel like sabotage, and honest appetite resemble theft. It can turn childhood into camouflage till half the self is buried, the other starved and left. It persuades a person to fully mistrust the very pulse by which he knows he lives, then see that inner famine as holy dust and praise the little scraps the system gives. So when I fled, I found beneath my speech whole buried kingdoms still beyond my sight. Their shattered columns rose through every breach, old sovereign voices moving in the night. There was a God instilled behind my eyes, a tireless witness fastened to my breath, who searched my pulse for treason and for lies, and salted every tenderness with death. He had the patience of a sleepless judge, the intimate intrusion of a spy, the eerie calm of one who will not budge until the living self grows weak and dry. He made my inward room a place of checks, a border crossing staffed by endless fear, where every thought was stopped, where every next desire was asked what dark intent brought it here. He sat beside my yearning and called it filth. He watched all my thoughts and told me to confess. He watched me like an auditor of guilt and fed on every tremor of distress. He dimmed the body at its point of waking. He taught desire to tremble at its name and made the smallest pulse of self-unmaking appear as evidence of sacred shame. He hovered over warmth and christened stain. He made a bruise of ordinary need. He took the bright unruliness of my brain and yoked it to his punitive creed. He knew the power of exhausting souls. He knew a weary child will often yield. He knew that if he occupied the whole, the truest self might never be revealed. How many nights I begged to be clean of being flesh, embodied, flawed, and real. How many mornings did I scrub unseen at harmless joys and natural appeal. I thinned myself in pursuit of virtue and starved the vivid places into grace. I thought that truest holiness would hurt you until no bright unrest was left in place. I polished my instincts until they thinned. I sanded my heart smooth to please his throne. I learned to count the places I had sinned by how alive I felt when left alone. A child so long acquainted with the rod may learn to call his terror heaven's voice and kiss the lash as though it came from God and think his own undoing a holy choice. The room grows strange when first the doubt appears. It does not stride in like a conquering king. It gathers softly at the hem of years, a draft beneath the door, a splintered thing. It comes like plaster loosening from the ceiling, a small white drift where certainty had stood, a change in pressure, almost more a feeling that what looked solid may not have been good. It comes the way a silence changes shape, the way a portrait shifts when you look at it twice, the way the old persuasive forms escape their guilt and show the wood beneath the vice. It starts as pressure in the inner wall, a low revolt too subtle to declare, a sense that all the towering sprawl may rest on something weaker than the air, a question here, a fracture in a tale, a cruelty in scripture too hard to bless, a saintly face suddenly gone pale, when simple honesty demands redress. A verse once bright with thunder starts to darken. A manicured answer rings a little too thin, and conscience, long instructed not to hearken, begins at last to stir and speak within. A pause too long when someone asks for proof, a borrowed answer cracking at the seam, a pious certainty slipping off the roof and landing with less glory than it seemed, a child within the grown heart lifting up its head and asking why this all feels wrong, a tremor in the hand that held the cup of dogma as though fear itself were wrong. As though fear itself were strong. Why should the highest good delight in fear? Why must the truth require the gag and blind? Why does a perfect love so often rear its empire on the breaking of the mind? Why is the wounded spirit called obedient? Why is the shrinking self declaimed as pure? Why must so much celestial expedient demand that what is human not endure? Why must the soul be terrorized to trust? Why must the tender heart be schooled by threat? Why is obedience prized above the just and questioning treated like a debt? Why does the sacred so resemble force when brought too near the mechanisms of men? Why does each doctrine trace the same old course, demanding I diminish yet again? Such questions, once admitted to the room, began to slowly change the tone. They did not strike the self to gloom, but showed the fear had never stood alone. That's probably where I will stop, just because I think my voice is going to give out if I go too much longer. But that's what I'm working on. That is basically what I want to do all day. If I could do nothing but write poetry all day, that's what I want to do. Not just that kind of poetry, but that's my heart, to figure out a way to put into words what we've been through. And I think that some of that, hopefully you all relate to. And I'm sure some of you could pick up that was obviously inspired by Shakespeare's Sonnet 29. But I think that we can agree that this stuff that did a number on us. By the way, that's a small portion of the poem. I read to you about 10 pages out of 50. So at some point soon, I'm going to read the rest of it in a full presentation where I read through the whole thing again, just audibly without my face showing. But thank you for letting me share that. Again, I apologize. My voice is just not being very kind to me tonight. Let me see if there's any comments here I missed. Shell says, yes, do it. Thank you so much. Janine says, please share, Tim. Thank you so much. I'm in for the night, but I'd like to hear it. Thank you so much, Noelle. And thank you so much, Janine. Appreciate that. Before I knew that words could brand my soul, until the borrowed posture feels like our own. Yeah, it really is. It's so true. This stuff really is. It's that stuff. It really did brand us. Laura says, thank you. So beautiful, Tim. Thank you so much. Captivating, haunting, raw. Words beyond words. Tim, please consider publishing your powerful streams of consciousness. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, I apologize. I can't read the whole thing, but you would be probably listening to me doing more coughing than reading in a few minutes. But it looks like no one else has come to the studio, so I apologize. There were some other people that said they wanted to jump in. It looks like life got in the way, and no worries to that. We definitely understand. But I did just want to mention something else. I'm going to do a video about this, but since I think my voice will hold out for a few more minutes here for me saying this, I wanted to share something, if I could, that I'm going to, again, I've done a video about this. I recorded it, and I'm going to edit it tonight or tomorrow and share it. But if I could just add one more thing to our poetry slam. This is probably not something that I would recommend for anyone necessarily, unless you really feel strong enough to do this. But I recorded a video where I talk about, it's called I'm Going Back to Church. And tomorrow morning, I am going back to church. And you might say, why the hell would you do that? And I'd ask myself that, why the hell would you go to church tomorrow? We've been talking a lot about shadow work. We've been talking a lot about healing from religious trauma. And there's a part of me that feels like when I look at the poetry that comes out of my heart a lot, and that I wish came out of my heart, that I'm working on, that's a work in progress, but I hope to get to a place where I'm, more proud of what I write, and that it's more descriptive of how I actually feel, and that's useful to us as a community. But as I work on this and try to get to the place I want to be with my poetry, one of the things that has to happen, of course, is your psychological, emotional context for how do you get your mind ready to dive into the deepest parts of this? How do you get your mind ready to find the words? You can't just come up with them off the cuff. You have to have some way to open up. There has to be a context. And if I were to describe church in general and Christianity in general, I would say it's a nightmare and a monster in my life on many levels, including even very recently, even as recently as this week. It is a monster, and there's so much pain. But one of the things that I want to do in terms of my healing process, as it relates to hopefully being a more poetic person in a metaphorical sense and also a literal sense, is to go back to my captor, to go back to the monster, to go back to the nightmare. So I'm intentionally, and it's ironic, I have known of a man, a Christian man, who has I think he has a radio program, but he has a TV show as well. He is one of the most obnoxious Christians on the planet. He is a preacher. He's a pastor. He's an apologist. He's an evangelist. He's all the above, Reformed, I'm sure, Calvinist, arrogant, the most arrogant prick you've ever seen. And I don't want to mention his name, but you'd know him if I mentioned him. And I found out, just luck of the draw, he happens to have a church 5 minutes from my house. 5 minutes from my house. I don't know why I never knew that before. It's a small church, but which is surprising for someone with a pretty big television program. You'd think you'd have a big church, but he may have been doing more evangelism for a while and just recently been called into to be a pastor. So that may have been part of it. But it's 5 minutes from my house, and I'm going to go to this church, and I'm obviously not going to go there and interact in a sense of like, hey, you all know this is mythology, right? And this is stupid. Not like that. I don't want people coming to my channel making comments like that, and I wouldn't go to their church and make comments like that. I'm going to be quiet and respectful, as I would hope that Christians would be when they come to my channel. But I'm going to play the role. I am going to sing the songs with my whole heart. And I hope, just like you might say, some of you might say, I have this person in my life who was a severe hardcore abuser, and he or she abused me exponentially in my life. And I'm so grateful to be done with that. I'm so grateful that they're part of my past. And yet there's a part of you that feels like you don't want them to have any more free rent in your head, but they do. And as much as you try, they're still there, and at times it's haunting. That's how I feel about Yahweh. And for the sake of my life's poetry and my actual poetry, I want to confront my abuser. I want to confront this system. I want to confront this pretend God, as it were. I want to confront the nightmare that this created in my life, which again has impacted me even to this very weak and substantial and horrifying ways. So I'm going to church tomorrow. I wouldn't recommend it for everyone, number one, because some people probably could get tempted to think, oh, actually, maybe this is God leading me back. This is the Spirit guiding me back into his flock. For other people, it would just be like, no, I'm not tempted to go back, but this is triggering as hell. This hurts. I'm at a safe spot, but I'm in a spot with my shadow work, you might say, that I need to go back to the darkest places. And I need to look them right in the eyes and basically my head say, fuck you. And, that might be the best poetry of all that we can come up with at times, is to look at Yahweh and look at Christianity and look at what it did to us, and look at the worldview and look at the culture and look at what it's doing to our nation, look at what it's doing to our politics. And literally the most poetic thing you might say, especially if you don't feel like you've got anything else poetic to say, is simply fuck you. Thank you for ruining my life and ruining my family's life and my loved ones. And I'll be doing that about 1 million times tomorrow while I'm in church. And I'll be quiet and respectful, and I will look like a Christian. I'll be singing the songs like I'm the best Christian in the church. But yeah, it's crazy sometimes to think about going back to your captor and going back to your abuser. But I think I was reading an article recently about that girl Elizabeth Smart, who had been in that horrible spot where she was imprisoned, or that guy kidnapped her for a while. And there's been other similar stories, but you think about it's at a certain for a while, someone like that probably needs to be as far away from their captor as humanly possible. Just have nothing to do with them. But I'm sure for some people, there's a point at which you say, I want to see your face again. I want to tell you what I think about you. I need to get some things off my chest. So I'm going back to church. If you want to watch the video, I explained a few more things about it. I'll be posting that either later tonight or tomorrow morning. But I say that not because, again, I'm inviting any of you to go to church, or to trigger you, but because I think in some ways I want to say that the poetry that's in your heart, it may need you in some ways, again, not to go to church, but to face your demons. Metaphorically, face your metaphorical demons. And I think there will be an incredible amount of tears, and hopefully as well some healing that comes when you face Goliath, and in a way that you thought you were pretty much done with, but now you come with fresh eyes and now they have no power here. I love that scene in Ahsoka where the two, the bad person, the bad lady with the red lightsaber, she's fighting the Mandalorian girl with the green lightsaber, and she knows that the Mandalorian is not a strong Jedi. She's very, very weak in the Force. And the I don't know if you call her a Sith girl, but she's on the bad side for sure. She looks right at the Mandalorian Jedi apprentice, and she's like, "You have no power." And I just want to say that to the Christian world, you have no power. You have no power over us. We're done. And I relate this and bring this up in a context of poetry, because out of some of the most intense and deepest pain that we face, you will find so much healing and so much poetry, and the words come. You're like, I didn't have a way to say this, but now I do. So I'm encouraging you again not to go to church, but to be willing to find the right time. And it may not be now, it might be a year from now, but to find the right time that's super safe for you to go into the darkest places and say, I have some things I need to face. And you know what? The nightmare and the darkness might not even be church or an abusive person in your life. It might be the younger version of you. You might need to go back and have a conversation in your head with the younger version of you. But I highly encourage you to go into the dark places when you're ready, and to see what's there, and to come back out of it with a sense of, I'm a stronger fighter than ever. I will not let you in. The last word will be rationality. The last word will be healthiness. The last word will be healing. And those of you with toxicity and all the above, patriarchy and mythology and just all these horrible things that just ruined our lives, they will not be the defining factor. We will write the next chapter. They will not. Looks like Janine just came in to the studio. So let me see if Janine, give me a thumbs up if you're ready to join. Oh, I see a thumbs up. All right. I see a few comments too. I'll get those here before we wrap up. Janine is in the building. Hey.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can. Welcome to the Poetry Slam.
Thank you. I didn't know, could I sing a cover of a song?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We'd be honored.
Okay, when I was really lonely and this song came on the radio and I was so hoarse, I sang this song, and it's Zombie by the Cranberries. I feel that it parallels the way I feel about my journey here. And when I learned to sing it, because my husband and I play this together, I don't know how I'm going to sound, but when I sing it, I feel very empowered, and I just I feel like it's very interlinked with my journey here with deconstructing.
Awesome. We're honored to hear it. Yeah. So please take it away.
Okay. I don't know how it's going to sound. Okay, everybody.
No worries.
Okay. It's really personal. All right. My kids are in the other room. Another head hangs slowly. Child is slowly taken. And the violence caused such silence. Who are we mistaken? But you see, it's not me, it's not my family. In your head, they are fighting with their tanks, in their bombs, in their guns. In your head, they are crying. In your head, zombie, zombie, zombie. What's in your head? In your head, zombie, zombie, zombie. Do another mother's breaking, heart is taken over. When the violence caused such silence, who are we mistaken? It's the same old theme since 1916. In your head, they are dying with their tanks and their bombs, in their bombs, in their guns. In your head, they're still dying. In your head, zombie, 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 oh, oh. I messed up a little there, but there you go.
That
Thank
was
you for
awesome.
listening. Thank
That
you.
was so good. Let me read some comments to we got some people that are cheering you on. Shell says, Janine. Laura says, same thing. Hi, Janine. Susanna, yay, Janine. Zombie's an awesome song. Sounds good. Wow. Singing along with you in my heart, Janine. Shell says, Phil just got home. He said, you're better than the Cranberries. That was amazing.
Never.
Noelle says, oh my God, Janine, thank you for sharing that. And a lot of applause from Janine. And Shell says, that was awesome. Very, very good. Very good.
Thank
I
you.
will say I am sure that if we had you, like, if we could hear, like, you in a studio or whatever, StreamYard is obviously, the lower end of the quality, but if we could hear you, we'd love to hear, anything that you're saying. So if you ever want to come on another one, or you just want to do share something on the channel in any other way, a short or whatever, you're always welcome. That was great. You have a great voice.
Thank you.
Yeah. Noelle says, I have such a new appreciation for this song. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
I'm really emotional. I appreciate it. Yeah, it reminds me of how it turns people into zombies. So the song's like Wake Up. So
Yeah, it's a very, very, very appropriate metaphor these days. That's it. We need to plan a convention or a retreat so we can hear this live. Yeah, we'll do a retreat sometime, and you have to be our singer for the main event.
you guys are too kind. Thank you. You're making me cry. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Janine, was there anything else you had on your heart to share with us tonight?
No, I gotta go. I gotta bake my husband a birthday cake. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Tim, for everything.
Thank you so much, and happy birthday to your husband. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Janine, for doing that. That was awesome. Awesome. Let's see here. And we just passed an hour. I don't see anyone else that's jumped in, so I think we're going to wrap it up there. And again, I apologize for my voice. I would have loved to have done a little bit more, but my voice is saying no. But again, you'll be able to hear that poem. If it appealed to you at all, you'll hear it in a later video later. It's clean and polished and so forth. And see here, just want to mention one or two more things here, and then we'll wrap up for the night. Tomorrow, if possible, I'm going to do two things. Number one, in the afternoon, again, fingers crossed, so don't hold me to this, but I've been very, very worn down by my kids in the last few days. They've been, oh my goodness, my one sweet girl, Ellie, the other night, she literally just threw up like 6-7 times. It was awful. We'd get her cleaned up, and an hour later, she's just doing it again. But it was a rough night, but I'm still catching up from that. But if I can, at around 3:00 Eastern tomorrow, I have a monologue that you're welcome to, jump in the comments for. And if anybody really wants to jump into the video, you're welcome to as well. But it's called Why We Help People Escape Bible Prison. And I think it addresses an important question. And if we don't do it, then I'll do it very soon, sometime this week. But it's basically there's people that say things to us like, why don't you just quietly leave? Just fine. You don't want to believe, just go. But you don't need to talk about it. You don't need to share it. And I think there's a certain point at which we need to remind ourselves why it's so important, of why we help people escape Bible prison. It's a big deal. This is not something we can just stand idly by while they steal our culture and they steal our future. But there's a lot to it, and I want to unpack that, and also to talk about the psychological abuse of children through Christianity. So we'll do that tomorrow, either 3 p.m. or soon. And then again, if I can, tomorrow night we're going to do a live stream or open mic, 6 p.m. Eastern, and it's simply, how do you cope with knowing that some of our loved ones will never escape? I think it's a critical question. How do you cope with knowing that some of our loved ones, we're hoping, we're inviting them, but you have to, you have an imagination, that some of them are never going to escape. And how do you deal with that? It's a really hard thing to wrap your mind around, knowing that the relationship that we want, the healing that we want, and just honestly, we want to think better of them. We want to be like, you really are going to be happy going to heaven and praising God and dancing for joy while you see me being tortured in hell, and you're going to be completely happy in that. We want to think better of them, that they're not that psychopathic, and yet they are. And it's very, very hard to deal with. It's very, very hard to wrap our minds around that. So we're going to deal with, talk about how do you cope with knowing that loved ones may never escape. It's not to be depressing, but it is to be realistic. And I think a lot of us need to come to a point of saying, how do you find peace in the midst of that storm, especially when you're talking about your parents or your spouse? And obviously, don't share stuff that you just shouldn't share, you can't share. I don't want anyone talking about their relationships in a way that's going to mess you up in terms of your attempts to build those bridges. Some things you do have to keep kind of private and the low down behind the scenes. But if you're able to share without it making any damage to your relationships, if anyone were to hear you, we'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So looks like we do have one person that jumped in. We got Shell. So we're going to, Shell, you'll be our last person unless someone surprises me and comes on with another poem. But Shell's in the studio, so we'll bring Shell on. Hey, Shell.
Hey. Hopefully my Wi-Fi's cooperating tonight.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Did you want to share a poem or anything?
I did. Awesome. I know it's not like finished or anything, and you guys shared some really awesome stuff, but I was like, I want to jump in. I want to be part of this community.
Thank you.
So bear with me. But yeah, it's.
Are you doing a poem or a song?
It's a poem. I wouldn't even try to sing right now. Oh my goodness, my allergies are so bad right now. But yeah, it's a poem that I titled it Fragmented or Complex, because I think an argument that I heard recently is that, like, if you don't have Christ as your foundation, that you'll be like fragmented and you won't have like a cohesive worldview, that sort of thing. And so I kind of just wrote this down. It's not even really like poetry, I guess. It's more of just like a thought process through that, like kind of an answer to that, I guess. And I think about that story, the kids like fable, the frog king, the crane that becomes the king of the frogs, because the frogs are like crying out for a king. And then as soon as the crane becomes the king, like he starts gobbling up the frogs, right? And so I kind of like found a parallel there, I guess. But yeah, I'll go ahead and share it with you, I guess.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you.
You will be fragmented. You will put something lesser on a pedestal and make it your God. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. We cannot have a religiously neutral society. If we don't hold fast to our Christian culture, another more insidious will come in to replace it. I hear the frogs cry, we need a king, we need direction, we're incapable of self-governance. We will fall into debasement, decadence, or debauchery. We cry for the crane that will gobble us up. A king is clear, a king is easy, a king is pre-packaged, simple way. We're familiar with the crown. It feels safe, it feels effective in a messy society of inefficiency. We are angry, we are restless, we are afraid. Give us a crane king to show us the way, to voice our frustrations. He will be benevolent because we obey. So that was it.
Nice, very nice.
Sorry, my throat.
Oh, no worries. Trust me, I'm in the same boat. My throat's not behaving either. What inspires you to write your poetry?
I think just still this idea that I guess I just still hear these voices echoing from my past, kind of trying to undermine why I left, or like undermine my reasoning and stuff. My church was very like I'd say like intellectual. It was a fundamentalist church, and I think a lot of people who really try to reason every single thing out, they kind of get funneled down into fundamentalism because they have to have like an answer for everything. And so I think everyone in my church really heavily kind of relied upon like debate and argument to justify your stance, your position for things. You know, we had Calvinists, and we had I forget what the antithesis to that would be. We had, you know, pre-dispensationalists, and we had, you know, post-trib or whatever, you know what I mean? So
I think you were looking for Arminian on the other one.
Yeah, I guess that would be it. Yeah. So it was always like, if you didn't have a good reason, if you couldn't argue your point, if you didn't have like a clear-cut answer, then you were, you know, wrong. And they would, you know, they would try to reason that you were still taking the presuppositions you had from Christianity and trying to apply them to your life, and you'll be fragmented, and you're not going to have a cohesive like worldview that God's like perfectly prepackaged way, you know, designed for life. Like he designed and gave us the Bible as direction, and if we don't follow that direction, we're always going to be kind of like morally depraved and that sort of thing. So my answer back to that is just, I think they want this perfect, easy answer, and life just isn't full of perfect, easy answers. There's a quote, if I can remember it now. The truth is rarely pure and never simple. And I can't remember what play or whatever that's from, but the truth is rarely pure and never simple. So having this clear-cut, perfect way is not, you know, it's not, it may feel right. It may feel good because it's kind of intellectually lazy. Actually, it's easier to just submit than to have to hash out all of life's most difficult questions. But yeah, I could go on and on. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. That's good stuff. Do you same question I was asking earlier to the other presenter with when Susanna was on. Do you find that your poetry comes to you sort of all at once, sort of like you just like it's not there, and all of a sudden you got to write it down as quick as you can because it's just coming to you like a download, or does it kind of come to you in piecemeal? Like how does your poetry actually come together for you?
So I'm ADHD, and I have this tendency to, my brain will either be going like 5,000 miles an hour or it's at zero. Like there's no like in between, and I'll literally like burn myself out. It's like an engine revving up, you know, and staying at a high RPM and not shifting gears when it's supposed to, and then you just like burn yourself out. So yeah, it tends to come to like in short spurts like that, and then I'll just be too, I guess, like mentally drained to necessarily be able to go back and edit it. And so it's hard to stick to like one thing and keep coming back to it. So I'll just have like little ideas and I'll jot them down like that, but it's really hard for me to like edit something all together into a cohesive like thing. Another thing, if we have a little bit of time left, another thing I was going to share with you, if it's okay if I read someone else's poetry.
Sure.
I love Maya Angelou, and her poem gave me a lot of just strength, I feel like, when I left. And I know that it's more about the experiences of being Black in a white society, you know, and that sort of thing. And so I don't want to usurp that meaning from it. But I also, you know, the wonderful thing about poetry is everybody can take a look at something and find different meaning in it for themselves, right?
Yeah.
So I really loved her poem, Still I Rise. And I would think about it a lot back then. And so it says, it goes, "You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room? Just like moons and like suns with the certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes? Shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still like air I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain I rise. I am a black ocean leaping and wide. Welling and swelling, I bear in the tide, leaving behind nights of terror and fear. I rise into a daybreak that's wondrously clear. I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. I love that poem because it's, there's a lot of parallels, kind of like the therapist that you were talking to the other day. She was talking about kind of how a lot of the slaves, once they were free, they would read the Bible, using it to learn how to read. And so it would just kind of reinforce those themes of like, you should submit to your master, you should obey your master kind of thing. And we're told to submit to God's will. And that it's like 1 minute we're children of God, the next we're slaves bought with a price. And so I found, just parallels in that poem. She may not have been talking about her faith or anything like that, but I just found parallels with it. And just the huts of history, shame, does my sexiness upset you? There's just so many things in that I feel like you could apply to our lives in Christianity too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, very well said. I appreciate you bringing her poetry into this. That's awesome. Janina was also saying, I love Maya Angelou too. She's amazing. Now I'm really crying. Absolutely. It's so good. So it's very much a parallel to what we're going through here. Personally, I like to say just what's in my heart rather than having a script. Yeah, I hear you. Laura says, thank you so much for sharing, Shell. You're right. Life can be a mess at times. And Noelle says, this poem has meant everything to me. Awesome. I've got a few more comments I'll go back to from earlier, but I just want to make sure I read those, Shells, while you're here. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, I totally agree. And by the way, if anyone didn't get to watch the interview that Shell just mentioned, it was with Nikki G, who's a therapist. I just put the link in the comments. Take a look, put it on a different tab for after we're done here. I think it's very, very well done. Nikki is awesome. I hope to have her back. She did a fantastic job, but that really meant a lot to me too. She had some great insights, even putting things into words that I'd never thought of before. But Shell, thank you so much for sharing. Was there anything else on your heart tonight you wanted to share?
No, that was all. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. I know you were trying to juggle, trying to find time with your kids there, but I appreciate you jumping on here at the end. It's great to have you. I'm glad it worked out before we wrapped up.
Yeah, you can probably hear the kids and the dogs and everything in the background.
Can't actually. You must have a good microphone. I can't hear them, but yeah, no worries at all. I think I've told you all before. I used to for a while, like maybe a year, I went to a Mennonite church where they just didn't want babies and children to be taken out. Like they didn't want them in Sunday school. They wanted the children in the church. So there were babies that were screaming and crying. And for a year, I just got used to babies like dancing on the pew. And everyone's just like, we're not taking our kids out of church. And it wasn't like there were parents that were like doing it, even though it wasn't really like appropriate. It was like the church said, no, please do not take your kids out of this congregation. We want them here, even if they make noise. It's normal for us to try to hush them down a little bit. But I got used to hearing a bunch of kids screaming during the church service as the pastor's preaching. It was one of the most beautiful things I'd ever seen, honestly, in a church culture. So no worries if your kids make noise. It's a good thing. That means there's a lot of life and a lot of love there. So, well, thank you so much, Shell. We'll look forward to hearing. Hopefully it works out for you to join one of our live streams again sometime in the next day or so. But thank you so much for being a part of our community.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tim.
Yep. Thanks. Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much again for being a part of my life. And I would love to just invite you all one last time. If anybody has been thinking about doing an interview with me, please let me know. I've got several interviews this week, some interesting ones. And you'll see the thumbnails pop up for them soon. And I've got some more coming in the next week or two after that are interesting, including one over in Australia. I've sometimes you have to really finagle your schedule, but I've got one in early May with someone in Australia. So it'll be our evening, for everyone in the US, our evening, and my interviewee's morning the day after. So always interesting to try to figure that stuff out. But if any of you are interested in being on the channel, love to have you. And also, I mentioned this a while ago, but since we're kind of doing like people coming in and being creative, I'll just mention this. If anybody does not feel like they're ready to do a full interview, but you'd be open to sharing something very short and to the point that is like a YouTube short, 3 minutes, a little bit less than 3 minutes, then let me know. You can also, you can send me an MP4 file and just share your story or something you're learning. You're welcome to do that. And I'm working on doing a lot more shorts behind the scenes. You'll see a lot more shorts from me soon. But if you have anything you want to share, just shorten to the point, that's fine. We'd love to hear the full story, but something that's smaller is fine too. That's what she said. Anyway, I hope you all have a great night. I hope you're doing well. And thanks again so much for your creativity. If you have an interest in poetry and you didn't do it tonight, you're not gonna, the chance is not lost. We'll do this again in a month or two. Please keep working on your poetry. We'll have you back. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a great evening. Talk to you soon.